Alright, this time what we've got in store is another tutorial, but I kind of actually have the wrong deck for it, so I'll be right back. Okay, well, I suppose wrong deck's not the right way to word this. But I would say the way that I build my setups in the first place, in all honesty, they're all capable of performing freestyle tricks, but I prefer different shapes for different purposes. So this one right here, we've got a cruiser. I tend to prefer this more so for vert style. It's just what performs for me and works for me in that aspect. So these two decks, I would say, are definitely more geared towards vert. Although they're capable, I can do freestyle tricks on them. I can do the freestyle tricks a lot better with something not shaped like that. Same can be said with these two. These are more, the popsicle stick shape. To me, the popsicle is a street shape in my opinion. Although Obsidian does have a different deck shape that they literally call street shape. What I'm getting at though is I use the popsicle stick shape as a street style. And this is also a street style one for that exact reason. I mean, this is a symmetrical popsicle, so this is like, to me, this is about perfection when it comes to a street style deck. But that's because it has all of my preferences. And I love this deck too, don't get me wrong. I mean, I can't possibly thank Sticky enough for sending me the deck. So, but the point stands, no. What I meant when I said I got the wrong deck was this is the type of shape that I usually use for freestyle. I use a boxy shape. And the reason that I go for the boxy shape is because that flat section on both the nose and tail, and this is actually a symmetrical boxy at that, makes it easier to keep the balance when doing a truck stand or a CrossFit pogo or toe side rail or just plain rail. And you know what? I can hear it already. People typing away in the comment section. Some keyboard warrior, I can hear it already, is going to sit there and say, no, that was Primo. Well, guess what, my friend? Primo Desiderio invented the Primo. And that's not a Primo. So the guy that invented it would like to have a word with you. No, a Primo is much like the toe side rail, except that there is forward motion. So an actual Primo would look like that. That's a Primo. Whereas this is a toe side rail. Not to be confused for a heel side coconut wheelie. It's not the same thing at all. or just plain coconut wheelie. Okay, so obviously any of these tricks could be done on any of these decks, but that flat nose and tail really lend themselves better to these freestyle tricks in general. Just the overall shape of the deck does that. That's also what the nose and tail guards are there for, not just preservation of the graphic, but they also guard against what's often called razor tail. On a real skateboard, this seems to happen way faster than on fingerboards, but it can happen on even a fingerboard. And what razor tail means is where the wood that's at the tail or the nose, usually it's the tail though, caused by dragging the tail during manuals, has worn away enough material that it's begun to sharpen the tail. It doesn't actually mean it's really sharp as a razor, but hey, you know, it ain't supposed to be that sharp. Okay, so there's some other tricks I want to go into as well, though. Some of them you'll probably see in a lot of my videos that I do freestyle tricks in, like the frontside Utah spin, which technically there's two ways to do that. You can either do it in a nose manual, so you have a nose manual, frontside Utah spin, or you have manual to frontside Utah spin. And you notice how... Oh, wait, I'm sorry, that was backside. This one was backside anyway. So yeah, that's a manual to backside Utah spin. Manual to frontside Utah spin. It's just like with other spin tricks. The rotation is what gives it its frontside or backside name. Now, I often do these into different tricks, such as either a pogo or a truck stand, or a crossfoot pogo or a crossfoot truck stand, largely dependent on just what the combo is at hand. So I might do a nose manual frontside Utah spin to crossfoot pogo, and you can see here that my index finger, which I've gone over this in other videos, that's acting as the left hand, whereas the middle finger acts as my left foot, and it's crossed over to the other side of the deck, where the heel and calf would be holding up the deck, whereas the back foot, or my ring finger, is keeping balance on the back truck. So, being a pogo, I can sit there and bounce it around and all that stuff. Or, had I not put the index finger in there at all, it would be a crossfoot truck stand. I tend to put the finger in there anyway because it's a separate trick, and that allows for a finger flip out, allowing me a way to complete the combo. Or I could do a manual to backside Utah spin, and then toe hook to truck stand, right? Then I can turn that into a pogo with a carousel, which is what that trick was, where it flipped the deck over, and now we're in basically a switch foot pogo. And then I can go and do another truck stand, or I can keep it in a pogo, either way, and I can do fan flip to crossfoot pogo. See, I'm back in that again. And that can also be another one of those, bam, now I can finger flip out of it. You know, so there's a bunch of ways to do these things. You've also got tricks where people do rail flip. Okay, now what happens if it's the other way, though? Right? Well, that one hit the wall, so I'm not even going to count that. Okay, where that flipped more like a heel flip, well, that's actually not called a heel flip when you do it out of a rail or toe side rail position. When you do it out of those, it's called a latte flip. L-A-T-T-E. So, I'm not sure why exactly it's named that. I do know that the inventor of it is Primo Desiderio, but I don't know why. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it isn't. No, he invented the rail and toe side rail. Rodney Mullen invented the latte flip. But I'm not sure why he didn't just name it a heel flip with your regular heel flip. I mean, it's done the exact same way, but there's a little more to it than that. But the gist of it is the same. One of the main things I would say as a tip for those wanting to learn how to do that, though, what I basically do is I gradually tilt the deck up until it feels like it's ready to just tip over on its own. And right at that point is when I flick the deck. Now I'm actually using pressure down here to get the thing to come up. But not so much pressure that it's going to just smack down on me. And it's also a matter of accuracy. So there's a bit of a nuance and finesse to this as well. But once it feels like it's about to just snap down to the wheels, instead I very swiftly flick, and that's what got it to do that. The same thing as far as how to do the rail flip. You don't have to tilt it nearly as high up to do a rail flip, and here's why. If you do, you see what it. I mean, it works, but it bounced up and all that stuff. It wasn't as smooth as it otherwise could have been. See? Then you've got half flip Casper, varial flip out. You've got pressure flip anti-Casper, heel flip out. Pressure flip Casper. No, I missed that one. Let's see. Pressure flip to Casper. To varial flip to Casper. Okay, that, when you do that Casper varial flip and you catch it back in another Casper, that's called a Casper flip. And then that's another varial flip out. So, oftentimes people are asking about a completely different trick in street style trick requests and stuff like that, where they say, oh, please do a Casper flip, when what they really are asking for, what they really mean, is in midair do this half flip Casper thing and then varial flip out of that. Guess what that's actually called? A hospital flip. And yeah, the hospital flip was indeed invented by Rodney Mullen, and it got its name because he ended up developing some pretty severe shin splints while in the process of creating that trick, and it sent him to the hospital more than once. So by the time he got it really down, like down to a science, he had decided that's what he was going to call it, the hospital flip. So, yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of these tricks that you might see. No, I messed that up completely. Okay, right there we got an old school varial flip. Notice there's no ollie involved. Basically what I'm doing is I'm pressuring the deck here and lifting up on the rail over here to cause the deck to turn end over end and flip like a varial flip. It still maintains that horizontal plane that it's flipping on. It doesn't go vertical, but yeah. So, you know, there's a load of different things. Well, there's a bit of interference there, but that was actually a pressure heel flip. There you go. There's another one. Nice and clean. So that's a pressure heel flip. That would be pressure flip to technically to primo because it slid, but I didn't land it. So, nope. Nope. There we go. That was a pressure flip just by itself. So there's a few tricks for you there to see. And how I'm doing those is literally just with sheer pressure applied to the middle of the deck on the rail side that I want, be it toe side rail. If I want it to be a pressure heel flip, it would still be called a pressure heel flip because you're still using your heel to do it on an actual, if you're doing it on an actual board. Whereas heel side, well, this side of the board, if you're regular footed, that would be the side that your heel resides on. So that would be a pressure flip. But that rail here is called the heel side rail. Okay, so let's see. There's a load of different tricks out there where someone might do a tail stop or a nose stop. And what they might do is they might take, say, their front finger here and then hook it underneath the deck and then flip it over. And that was literally a tail stop to, I know this is going to sound weird, English heel flip, also known as an underflip. But, so that would be a tail stop underflip to rail. There's also tricks where some people start out on a manual and they might, no, I totally screwed that up. Start out in a manual and then, you know, toe hook varial flip it. I mean, that was kind of crappy, but there we go. So manual to English tray flip or toe hook tray flip to rail. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of different tricks you can do with these. Some people will start out with a nose manual, then they'll turn it into an English nose manual, which actually, most often, you see guys like Andy Anderson do it. There we go. And then, you know, it's so cool too because you can sit there and do that, right? And then you can toe hook it into something else like that, and now it's in a Casper. There's a lot of these tricks for freestyle. You can also see things like walk the dog. Okay, now here's the trick tip to that one. All right, when you're doing a walk the dog, what you're basically doing is you're taking your front foot and your back foot. Now your back foot stays as close to the center of the board as you can keep it pivoting there, and it's going to act like, you know, it's going to sit there and pivot over and over. But that's also what you're doing end over end with the front foot. You're literally, you pick it up, pivot, set it down, and in as fluid a motion as you can, you continue to do it over and over. That's called a walk the dog. There is another trick called walk the cow, and this can be done heel side or toe side, but the principle is exactly the same, but how it's done is not. So basically what goes on is this, right? You keep on alternating, but you try not to let it fall over. But that's called a walk the cow. So you get there, then you switch over, then you're pivoting that whole time on that rail, and then, yeah. But it doesn't matter if you start out in a toe side rail or a rail. It's the same. It's a walk the cow. Is the name of the trick. Really popular one, I suppose, would probably be the old handstand. As you can see, I'm using the index finger and the pinky as the hands, and my middle and ring fingers respectively are lifted up just like it would be in a handstand, right? Or you could do the handstand nose manual like Chad Muska does in one of the Tony Hawk games. Okay. There are just loads of things you can do like that. But yeah. What else have we got? Okay, so you can always do power slides, things like that, right? Well, one really cool thing you can do. Power slide to toe side rail. And did you see that rail flip to fakie? Man. I'm just saying, that's like, it's another thing you can do if you want to do it. And that's the beauty of freestyle. I mean, I could sit here and do like a boneless, if I can do it correctly. There we go. Or a fast plant. So the trick there is slipping off the front foot and using a digit to grab, particularly the pinky if you're doing a boneless, and the front foot's going to plant either way. Or for a fast plant, you're grabbing just like a mute grab, but the front foot plants and lifts the deck off the ground. Or as you lift the deck off the ground, rather. So there's a couple of those for you. There are street plants that you might do. Like that one would be a street invert to fakie. Or you might do something like let's see, you might do a boneless, and now you've got that into a tuck knee street plant to fakie. So I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this stuff. You could boneless into them. You could just straight up roll into them. There's, that's the beauty of fingerboarding and skateboarding, is that really the possibilities are nearly endless, and a lot of these tricks can be done into each other. Again, the shape of the deck is really going to lend itself to a different style each time. Where the nose is rounded off here, can I do that pogo right there? Yeah, I can, but it's not as balanced. I can do it though, but I'm more likely to modify how I'm doing it if I'm using a cruiser. And instead of doing a finger flip out, I did a fan flip out of that one. Same, again, same thing can be said here. These don't have, these two, popsicle ones, they don't have that flat edge So when I go into that, nose stop to CrossFit Pogo, it's not as balanced. And here I fail because of it too. See? But I can still do it. It's just not as easy for me as it is with that deck because of the shape of the board. And we got your kick flip to rail. Right? Or you got the variable flip, fakey pop shove it. These kinds of tricks you see all the time in freestyle, little shove-its and stuff like that, and then next thing you know, you got somebody doing some wicked ways to turn things into all kinds of other tricks and combos, But yeah, so yeah, that ought to do it for now. I mean, that's a long enough video.